Welcome to video 2. So, what did I discover? What finally changed everything for me, and that can change everything for you? What's the truth about why you still don't have what you want? What's the truth, capital T, about why there's still so much struggle, suffering, and pain in your life? What's the truth, capital T, about why you still don't have the big answers that you seek? As I said, there are 4 deeply hidden blocks. All 4 may apply to you, or perhaps just one of them or more. Before I explain what the 4 deeply hidden blocks are, and we open the door to how to remove them, which we'll cover in the next video, I want to make sure that we are crystal clear on 2 very important points. The first one is, in this video, with the things that I share with you, I want you to be crystal clear that I mean no disrespect or criticism or judgment or attack on any teacher, any teaching, anything that's out there. I'm simply sharing with you what I experienced, what I discovered, what changed for me, and what can change for you. And I'm inviting you, again, wearing your objective scientist hat, to look at what I'm sharing with you and see what's actually going on in your life and in these things that I'm going to invite you to look at. Secondly, I mentioned earlier that some of the things that I was going to share with you in this masterclass might be difficult for you to accept based on what you came here believing and accepting to be true. And it's this video where if that's going to happen, it's going to happen. So again, I want to invite you and I want to remind you that you're here for a purpose. You want to change your life, and to change your life, I'm sure you've heard this before, you got to do something different than you've done before. And you've got to question things that you believed to be true. So again, I want to remind you, if as you're going through this video, any resistance comes up from the mind, disagreement with me, no, I don't want that to be true, Robert's wrong, whatever it is that comes up, move all the way through this video and continue through the masterclass. But, objective scientist hat, look at what's actually happening in your life. Look at the examples and the things I'm going to invite you to consider and see where it goes instead of just thinking about it. Block number 1. You accepted a teaching that isn't true. The odds are very high that before you came here to this masterclass, you became familiar with a teaching and you embraced it and you've been using it in your life. And that teaching, the language is different, but you'll know what I mean. The teaching at its core has the message of you have unlimited power and you can create or manifest or attract. Those are the big words. I'm sure you're familiar with them. Anything that you want, no limits if you just use a particular technique, of which there are many techniques that have been out there for years and new ones come out all the time. Variations on a theme. Now, in these teachings, it's all coming from you. It's coming from your thoughts, or it's coming from your thoughts plus your feelings, or it's coming from your beliefs, or it's coming from your subconscious mind, or it's coming from your energy or your vibration. Again, I'm sure you're familiar with all of this, and it's all coming from you. You got the power, and you are creating your reality. Now, that sounds good. And from my experience in my own life and in dealing with thousands of people now all over the world, we desperately want to believe that that's true. That we have the power to create absolutely anything, manifest anything, attract anything. We want it to be true. It's what I call a very sexy and appealing idea, but it's not true. It's not an accurate description of the way life really works. And if you look at what has happened in your life, what's happening now, what's happening in other people's lives, and I'll give you some examples to consider in this video, you see that it just is not an accurate description of how things really work. In fact, if you measure it, objective scientists do an experiment, which I've done multiple times, to see what actually happens in life with people that try to use these techniques. What you see is they fail most of the time. They do succeed sometimes. That's why there are so many what I call testimonials, miracle stories, and success stories about these techniques working. But they fail most of the time for everybody, including the teachers and the gurus and the people that promote these things. That's just the truth of what happens. It's not an accurate description of the way the world and reality really works. All right, let's take a closer look at what I just said. One of the variations on this teaching that I've been talking to you about is that your thoughts create your reality. And whatever you hold in your most dominant thoughts is what you're going to attract or what you're going to create in your life. So let's take a look at this. If you look closely, again with clear vision, and you're brutally honest about what you see three things. Number one, you and me and everybody else who has been on this path has had experiences where your mind, or what I call inner space, is filled with negative thoughts, negative expectations, worry, concern, fear that this really bad thing is going to happen. And yet most of the time it doesn't. And yet if this teaching was true, it should. Every time you're filled with negativity, negative thoughts, that's what should happen. But that's not what happens. In fact, most of the time, the negative bad thing doesn't happen. On the other side of that, you and me and everybody else has had experiences where their mind, inner space, is filled with positive thoughts and expectations. And yet the positive things don't always happen. In fact, for most people, the way I used to be, those positive things happen a very small percentage of the time. But if your thoughts are creating your reality, it shouldn't be that way. There should be a direct relationship between what's appearing in your thoughts and what's actually happening, except there's not. And here's the final thing I want you to consider that blows all of this out of the water. You and me and everybody else on this path, I'll give you a really big example of this in a minute, have had experiences where something that we perceived as very bad or very good happened, and we never thought about it. Never, ever, ever, ever thought about that particular thing happening, whether it was a good thing, a bad thing, or a good thing. So how do you explain that? If it's all coming from your thoughts, and you never had any thoughts about it, how can it possibly happen? You see, when you dive a little bit beneath the surface of these things that sound so good, if you think about them, you can see that it starts to fall apart, and there starts to be questions. Now, another party line teaching says that it comes from your energy, or it comes from your vibration, which can have a relationship to your thoughts, but it doesn't have to in some of the teachings. So here's my question to you, objective scientist hat. Where is this energy? Where is this vibration? Can you see it? Can you measure it? Can you verify that whatever you may have been told about your energy or your vibration is really true? The answer is no. You can't verify any of it. It's something that you have to accept on faith because it makes sense, or the person that told you has credibility or unusual skills or talents, but you can't verify any of it for yourself. If you look closely, objective scientist, clear vision, and you're brutally honest about what you see. Same thing with the subconscious mind. There's a lot of teachings out there that says whatever's happening to you, it's coming from your subconscious mind, and maybe beliefs that are there. So I ask you the same question. Where is this subconscious mind? Can you see it? Can you touch it? Can you measure it? Can you search it like you can search a hard drive on your computer to verify that whatever you've been told is deeply buried in your subconscious mind is really there? That you really do have this belief that's called limiting or self-sabotaging? Can you verify the truth of this? No. In fact, look at the word subconscious mind, which means it's beneath consciousness, which means you cannot be aware of it. You can't verify the truth of these things that you've been told and that you have accepted and that perhaps you've been working with, doing different things to try to change your beliefs, to try to change your subconscious mind, to try to change your energy or your vibration or your thoughts. If you study the lives of very, very successful people, which I have done, you read biographies or you study their lives however you can, what you see is there are huge success stories, big success stories, and small success stories with people that are filled with fear and doubt and insecurity and negativity and worry and, oh no, they're never going to get this. It's never going to happen for me. And then it does. And you see this over and over and over and over again. When you look, you see there is no direct relationship between thoughts or beliefs or these other things and what actually happens most of the time. And you see that these other things that you're told, again, subconscious mind, energy, and vibration are very interesting ideas. Yes, there is a lot of evidence to support the fact that they exist, but they're invisible. You can't see them, you can't touch them, you can't measure them, you can't search them, you can't verify the truth of it. And then the other question that I'm going to leave you with hanging is, even if it was true, think about this. Imagine you had a belief that was buried deeply in your subconscious mind. Imagine that whatever this thing called energy or vibration is, has something in it, right? How does that thought, how does that belief, how does that energy, how does that vibration have the power to reach out into the universe and make things happen? As I mentioned before, make things happen that involves everything related to you, and everything related to other people, and everything related to what's happening in the world. How could it have that much power? Now, there's stories about this, with energy and vibration and such, about how, but if you really look closely, there's not much there to really explain it. It's just kind of a very general, vague. Your energy creates your reality. Your vibration attracts like things, whatever it is. The universe, blah, 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 whatever it is. There's not a lot of detail about the mechanics of how that could possibly be true. How could a thought or dominant thoughts actually reach out into the world and make something happen? Same thing with the subconscious mind, with a belief, with your energy, with your vibration. I invite you to consider this with your objective scientist hat on.
Here's a great example of what I just shared with you. This is J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter books. Now, as you know, the Harry Potter books are probably the biggest selling series of books of all time. And the movies were all huge successes. And then there's theme parks and there's merchandise, and it is a gigantic, gigantic success story, making J.K. Rowling a billionaire and one of the richest people in the world. But the interesting thing is, before Harry Potter, all J.K. Rowling wanted, what was in her thoughts, what was in her goals, what her intentions were, was only to make enough money to be able to take care of herself and her daughter. She was a single mom, and to be able to write because she loved to write. The big, gigantic success story and everything that came from it was nowhere to be found in her thoughts, her goals, or her intentions. So you have to ask yourself, how could that possibly happen if the teaching that you've accepted was true? Now, it's important to realize that J.K. Rowling isn't alone. If you study success stories, whether they are small, big, or huge, like J.K. Rowling or other ones that you're aware of, which I have done extensively, and you can do yourself if you choose to, you see the same sorts of things. They didn't expect what happened. It wasn't a goal or an intention. Sometimes they were even convinced that what happened would never happen for them. If it was a goal, if it was a target, they'll say they were just lucky, or just in the right place at the right time, or something like that. Here's another example. The coronavirus pandemic that is rampant all over the world at the time of this recording. Let me ask you a simple question. This virus has been affecting people in huge ways all over the world. Did they create it? Did they attract it? Did they manifest it? Did it happen? The effect the virus has had on them? Did it come from their energy, their vibration, their mindset, something in past lives or karma or the other kinds of things that you've probably been taught? Well, the answer is no. So then you have to say to yourself, well, if this virus is happening and it's affecting people, what does that say about the accuracy and truthfulness of this teaching that you've accepted? Here's another example. This is a picture of a very famous physicist that you've probably heard of, whose name is Stephen Hawking. This is a picture of him as a young man. He was perfectly normal until he was diagnosed with a disease called ALS at age 21, when his body started to degenerate. This is a picture from him later in life when he was confined to a wheelchair, as he had been for most of his adult life, and had very little use of his body. In fact, one of the things he said was the only thing he really could do, because his body had degenerated, was think, which obviously was critical to the breakthroughs that he made in physics. But my question to you is, did he create, attract, or manifest getting that disease? Well, the answer is no. Why did it happen at age 21 and not 30 or 40? How was that decided? Did he create this reality? No. And his severe limitations, as I said, contributed in huge ways to the scientific breakthroughs he made, because all he could really do was focus on what was going on in his mind. So is that an accident? Was that random? We'll get back to accidental and random things later. But again, you have to look at this and say, well, if we create our reality and it's all coming from us, thoughts, feelings, vibration, intentions, goals, or whatever else, how can something like this happen that changes a life so dramatically? Virtually all the teachings and techniques out there assume that you are in a vacuum and it's only about you. But that's not how life really works. Consider these examples. Imagine that this is a scene at the Olympics. It's a swimming event, and all of these swimmers are about to begin a race. Now, they all want to win, right? So who's going to win? If they all create their own reality and it's all coming from them, like these teachings say, how is it going to be determined who's going to win? Is the person who wins the one that wants it the most? No. Is it the one that has the highest energy or vibration? No. Is it coming from the beliefs or the mindset or the other things? No. All of these people want to win. Only one of them can win. So if you create your own reality, how do you explain that? Because you ought to be able to create absolutely anything. But when other people are involved and only one person can get something, I think you begin to see the hole that gets poked in that teaching from this perspective. Same thing with a football game. This is a picture taken from the most recent Super Bowl in American football. Same thing, two teams playing for the big prize, the Super Bowl trophy. Who's going to win? Is it the team that has the highest vibration? Is it the best technique users? Is it the best manifestors or attractors? Is that what's going to determine who's going to win? Well, there's two teams with an awful lot of players, and there's coaches, and there's staff, and there's fans. There's all these people that want to win, and they all supposedly have the power to create their own reality and have anything happen that they want just by using a technique. But only one team can win. So how is it going to be determined? Think about this and think about what it points to in terms of the inaccuracy and the lack of truthfulness if you take an objective look at this teaching. And finally, another example here of sports, a tennis match. Imagine that this is the final at Wimbledon or some other major tennis tournament. Two players, only one of them can win the prize. So who's going to win? Is it the best manifester? The one with the highest vibration? The one that has the most positive thoughts? Is that how it's going to be determined? Well, I think you can see that the answer is no. But both of these players supposedly have power and can create, attract, or manifest anything that they want, except only one person can win. So take a look at this, what it points to, and what it means about the teaching that you've accepted. What about two men who want to marry the same woman? Or two women that want to marry or date the same man? How's it going to be determined? Can you see again the problem with this teaching if you begin to look at it from a slightly different perspective when other people are involved? And finally, what about two people competing for the same job or contract? Only one of them can get the job. Only one of them can get the big contract. So who's going to get it? Again, is it the best manifester, the most positive beliefs in a person, highest vibration or energy, cleanest energy, whatever? How's it going to be determined?
Both people, everybody competing for the job or the contract, supposedly have the ability to manifest, attract, or create anything they want, but only one person can get it. So again, I invite you to take a look at this with your objective scientist hat on. I could go on and on with examples, but you can see the point that I'm trying to make. Plus, I know you can find many examples from your own life if you now start looking at things from this new perspective that I'm inviting you to consider. Now, here's the truth here. As long as you continue to believe that this particular teaching is true and the techniques really are magic and are superpowered, you will continue to experience tons of struggle, suffering, pain, and blocks. It's absolutely guaranteed because it just isn't true. That just isn't the way that reality really works. If you take a close look at what I just shared, at your life, at other people's lives, and you're brutally honest about what you see, which is the key, you must acknowledge it can't just be about you. You must acknowledge there's some other force at work that shapes what happens to you. Once you see the truth, capital T, of that clearly, then the critical question that needs answering is, okay, if it's not me, if I'm not creating what's happening to me, then what force is creating my reality? How is my reality really created? As I mentioned before, what are the mechanics? And why does that force do what it does? This is the question that needs to get answered, and I can help you with that. Repeated for emphasis, the critical question that needs answering is, if it's not me, what force is creating my reality? How is it really created? And why does that force do what it does? More to come on this later in the training. Block number 2. You tried to manifest, create, or attract, I'm just going to call it the wrong things. Right now, you have what I call your wish list. You have a list of things that you want in your life, things that you've been trying to change, fix, and improve. Have you ever asked yourself, where did the items on my list come from? Have you ever asked yourself, will it really make me happy if I get what's on my list? Most of the items on most people's lists are what I call surface goals. That means goals related to money or career and business or relationships, body health and wellness, or whatever else it might be. I think you know what I mean. Somewhere in our minds is the idea that if we achieve our surface goals, it will make us happy and we'll have a great, awesome life. I was like that until my late 40s. How about you? Is that your story too? If you could just get what's on your list, then you'd finally be happy, or free of negativity, or live a great and awesome life. But if you look at how things really work in life, if you put on your objective scientist hat again, that almost never happens. Achieving surface goals rarely makes people happy, or if it does, it's a temporary high that doesn't last. The world is filled with people who achieved every one of their surface goals, or many of them, and yet they struggled with depression, loneliness, fear, insecurity, drugs and alcohol, and whatever else it might be. Here is a high-profile example. Jim Carrey, the famous actor and comedian who said, "I wish everyone could get rich and famous and have everything they ever dreamed of, so they would know that's not the answer." He said that because that's what happened to him. He grew up poor and had a long list of surface goals that he wanted to achieve. He got every one of them and discovered it didn't make him happy. In fact, he battled depression and other issues despite his huge success and getting absolutely everything on his list. Jim Carrey's story is not unusual for big success stories, small success stories, and everything in between. Last year, there was a series of suicides of rich and famous people who appeared to have it all and to be living their dream lives. I went through periods in my life where I achieved my biggest surface goals, including some gigantic money goals. But it didn't make me happy either. I still felt tortured inside. So what's the alternative? Stop setting goals and wanting things? No, that's not the answer. The alternative is to have an experience that reveals what you really want deep down based on who you really are at the deepest level. What would really make you happy? And then you focus on achieving those goals instead. Stick with me and I'll tell you more about how you can do that. Everybody, and I mean everybody, comes into this life with a unique, I call it mission and purpose. Those words are not unique to me. All of us, there's an intelligent plan, birth to death. There are specific things that our lives are designed to give us in terms of what happens, when it happens, the experiences we have, the kinds of things that are going to unfold, I call it, in our stories from birth to death. What's going to happen? When is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? The specifics, the mechanics. Nothing is random. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is the result of chaos. It's all the result of an intelligent plan that all of us have for our lives, birth to death. I invite you to verify this for yourself by reading biographies or, again, studying the lives of people, because when you read any biography or a documentary about someone, whenever you get details of someone's lives, to me, it's crystal clear that there was an intelligent plan at work and that the intelligent plan started unfolding the minute that we were born. When I look at my life and I look at what happened from the moment I was born all the way up until I made these discoveries and became a teacher and a coach and I'm here interacting with you through this video, it is so obvious to me that there was a plan for my life and that it started being executed right when I was born and that it shaped and filtered everything that happened to me. And it's the same thing with you and everyone else. This is Oprah, who I'm sure you're familiar with. She knew at a young age that she wanted to be, get this, paid to talk. Now that's a very specific and unusual desire. How did she know that? Where did that desire to be paid to talk come from? This happened when she was at a young age. How could it have been known that far in advance what she would become? After that desire surfaced, you can see an intelligent plan that unfolded and took her there. This is Mother Teresa, the famous humanitarian. At a young age, she felt a calling to be a nun and to serve through helping the poor. Now, let me ask you, what does felt a calling mean? Where did it come from? Do you create or manifest or attract a calling? Did she? No, this is something that just appears in your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, whatever. And if you look at her life, you can see an intelligent plan unfolding after that. But where did it come from? And how was there advanced knowledge of what she was going to become that appeared at a young age? Think about it. This is a famous pop star from my day. You may be familiar with him, you may not, whose name was Phil Collins. He rose to wealth and fame as a drummer first, and then later as a songwriter and a singer too. As a young boy, he picked up the silverware at the dinner table and started drumming on the table with them. His father later bought him a drum set. So let me ask you, why did he start drumming with his silverware? Where did that come from? Why did his father buy him a drum set? You know, most parents would probably just say to their kid, hey, stop making so much noise, right? Where did it all come from? How could it have been known so far in advance what Phil Collins would become? Later in his life, you can see that an intelligent plan unfolded that took him to this particular destiny that was clear when he was a young boy. Finally, this is an example of Lady Gaga, who's very famous and successful right now. She says that she used to dream that she would see her name go up in lights. Now that too is a very unusual and specific desire, my name up in lights.
It's not like being a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher, which is a very common goal for people. So where did these dreams come from that were predicting the future? Did she choose, attract, or manifest or create those dreams? No, they just happened. And yet they were an accurate prediction of her future. How could it have been known that far in advance what she would become? After those dreams appeared, you can see an intelligent plan unfolding that took her to actually experience this destiny that she got previews of when she was younger. These famous people are not special. It's the same thing for all of us, no matter how our stories unfold. There's a mission, there's a purpose, there's an intelligent plan, birth to death, that's unfolding. Whether clues about the future were revealed in an early age for you or not. They were not in my life, just to use me as an example. This is a famous quote from the writer Mark Twain that points to this in a different way. The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. You may not want to hear this. You may not like to hear this. And there are many people out there that would disagree with me. But to me, truth is truth with a capital T. And the truth is, if something that you want, something that's on your list, something that you've been trying to create or manifest or attract is not part of your life purpose and your mission, it's not going to happen. And it doesn't matter what technique you use, and it doesn't matter how hard you try. And like me, it doesn't matter all the things that you try to do to get rid of blocks or raise your vibration or cleanse your thoughts or install empowering beliefs or whatever. It doesn't matter what you do. If it's not part of your mission and purpose, it's not going to happen. And this is a big part of why there are things that are on your list that you still don't have. The odds are very high that a lot of the things that are on your list are not part of your mission and purpose. Block number 3. You tried to manifest, create, or attract something with, let's just call it, the wrong timing. I'm sure you've heard the old saying, timing is everything. And it's absolutely true. And this is something that people talk about all the time without realizing the full significance of it that I'm sharing with you here. Again, you may not like this. You may not want to hear this. Other people would disagree with me. And the truth is the truth. And the truth is, if there's something in your life that is part of your mission and purpose, it's going to happen with the best timing to support your mission and purpose, not the timing that the mind prefers. Have you ever seen a manifestation, attraction, or reality creation technique that tells you to set a goal to have something happen 20 years from now? 30 years from now? 10 years from now? I mean, maybe you have. I never did. Even if there's a technique that you've learned and the languaging is, bring this at the best time for me, what's underneath it is almost always fast, right? I mean, the mind wants it and it wants it now. It wants it fast. It doesn't want it later. It's not interested in waiting until certain other things happen that support that, which I'll get to in a minute. But this is the truth. If something is part of your mission and purpose, it's going to happen at the best time to align with the intelligent plan for your life, birth to death, that I've been calling your mission and purpose. And again, it doesn't matter what you do. You can't speed it up. You can't shortcut it. If it's meant to happen, it's going to happen at the best time and in the best way to support your unique mission and purpose. I want to give you some examples of this. The first is my grandfather, who you may be aware of if you read the Busting Loose books or you know a bit about my story. This is my grandfather, Aaron Scheinfeld. He was a lawyer, and all of his life he wanted to find a big idea, be an entrepreneur, and become rich. But that did not happen in his life until he was 57, when he got the idea for the company that would become his greatest success, one of the largest companies in the world, the Manpower Group. But no matter what he did, no matter how badly he wanted it, the timing was for this to start when he was 57. That's just the plan. Here's another example. Colonel Sanders, famous for Kentucky Fried Chicken. Similarly, he wanted to be successful much earlier in life. and he tried all kinds of things to be successful and to become wealthy, but most of what he tried failed or was only slightly successful. And then the big breakthrough, the big success that we all know about, actually did not start until he was age 62. That was the timing as part of his mission and purpose, for whatever reason, whether it makes sense to you or not. And finally, I'm sure you know this face, Steve Jobs from Apple. He had big goals and big dreams from a young age. He did have some big early success with Apple, but then he was forced out of his own company. You may know this story. The company he started after being forced out of Apple, it was called Next, was a massive failure. He almost went broke before having his biggest successes and changing the world in multiple different industries in his 40s and 50s. That was his mission and purpose timing. He wanted to achieve his goals and his dreams when he was much younger, but it didn't happen. And it happened later because that was his mission and purpose timing. He had to learn certain things and have very important experiences first, and then it was his time. These are just a few examples out of zillions that I could share with you. Block number 4, you didn't go deep enough. Now I want to illustrate this for you so that this point is crystal clear. So this blue rectangle represents what's happening in your life. And when what's happening in your life you don't want, then you start trying to do something. You use techniques, you use strategies, you hire coaches, you do whatever it is trying to change what's happening in your life. And if it doesn't work, the things that you start out that I call on the surface of what's happening in your life, then some people go deeper. One of the things that many people do when they start to go deeper is that they're told the problem is your brain. The problem is the way that your brain is wired. And so you need to change the way that your brain is wired. And there's all kinds of techniques and strategies and ways that you can change the wiring of your brain. Again, it's very popular right now at the time of this recording. If that doesn't work, or you didn't try that, but you go out and you say, all right, well, why don't I get what I want? Then you're told, well, it's your thoughts, it's your subconscious mind, it's your beliefs, it's your mindset. I'm sure you know this battle cry, as I call it. And so you spend a lot of time trying to change your thoughts, your subconscious mind, your beliefs, or your mindset. If that doesn't work and you keep seeking and you say, why do I still not have what I want? Then we're told it's your energy. There's something in your energy field. There's something in your vibration. Your vibration isn't high enough or clear enough or pure enough or whatever. So we spend a lot of time trying to make a change here. And if that doesn't work, you may have done this, you may not. We're told, well, the reason this stuff's happening to you, you don't have what you want, is because of karma or past lives, or you need to ask for the help of angels or masters or some very powerful invisible being. Now, you may or may not have tried all of these things. I did try all of these things. And it kept me busy for multiple decades, going down this way and trying all these different things and different techniques and taking time to do it. And oh, that didn't work. Let's try this. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, let's go to the next box on this chart. But the truth is, as I mentioned to you, is that the cause of everything that's happening in your life is coming from something underneath all of that. Everything that's happening in your life, everything that's happening in your brain, everything that's happening in your thoughts, subconscious mind, and beliefs, everything that's happening with your energy and vibration, and whatever may be going on with karma, past lives, angels, or masters, you know what I mean, it's all coming from the deepest level. And so many people, most people, start here on the surface trying to change their life. And then to one degree or another, my guess is you can identify with this, we go down this list in whatever order, trying to find the magic bullet way to finally change our lives. But the problem is, it never takes us down to the deepest level that's the true cause. And that's why things don't change. A change must be made at the deepest level that then ripples up and out to change everything that may be happening at those other levels and, of course, what's happening in your life. So if you focus only on the brain, there's limits and problems and it won't work consistently or at all.
If you focus on your thoughts, your subconscious mind and beliefs, there's limits and problems. If you focus on your energy and vibration, limits and problems. If you focus on karma, past lives, angels or masters, limits or problems, even if somebody does appear to get a result or to get a slight change. But if you start working at the deepest level, that's where the true breakthroughs are. At the level that's underneath everything else that you've been taught, everything else that you've tried. And when a change is made at the deepest level, it ripples up and out to change everything else. What happens at the deepest level, again, is the true cause of everything that happens in your life. Everything. Including, again, what happens at all the other levels above it. There's another force at work here. There's an intelligence at work here. You could say another part of you. And it's this other part of you, this intelligence, this force, that really creates your reality and customizes all of it to support your mission and your purpose being fulfilled. That force also creates what you think, what you feel, and how you respond to everything that happens in your life. Again, to align with your unique mission and purpose. For your life to change, transform, really change and transform, you must go deeper and deeper and deeper underneath everything that you've been taught to discover the truth about what that force is, what that intelligence is, how it works, why it does what it does, and what your role is in all of this every day. And that's something that I can help you with in ways that no one else can. Going deeper is what gives you the puzzle piece that you've been missing all of your life, and that's missing from all the other techniques, systems, and teachings you've tried. And when you get that missing puzzle piece and the whole picture comes into view, that's when the magic happens. Truth be told, if you don't get down to that deeper level, and if changes are not made there, nothing will change for you. Nothing. Now that you know about the 4 blocks, it's time for you to discover the truth, capital T, about what it takes to remove those 4 blocks so you can start living a radically different life. Continue on to video 3 in the masterclass to discover that.